Hi, Farhan. How are you?
Good, good. Is how's everything down in Bolivia?
Mm, Everything's okay so far.
Nice, nice.
How
How's
was your day, Farhan?
your day? My day was good. How was yours?
Sorry?
I said, how was your day?
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Um, it was great. Yeah, I learned some new things, so I'm happy about that.
Good, good, good. It's always good to practice and learn. Uh, did you continue to work on your application, on the website application today? Or actually, I think you said you were going to work on that on Saturday with your friend, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you hear me?
Farhan, I cannot hear you well. Hi there.
Hello, Wilson. How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you. How about you?
Fine, thank you. Hi, Farhan. Cannot hear you, Farhan.
Yeah, we cannot hear you yet.
What about right now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay.
Okay. I think you guys should be able to hear me now, hopefully, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I can hear you well.
Okay. All right, fantastic, fantastic. Let me know if the connection gets bad again. I really apologize. My tonight is the last night in for another month that I'll be traveling. So starting from tomorrow night, I'll be back home. Uh, you know, normal computer, normal internet, no problems. So yeah.
That's good.
Jose, how's it going?
Everything's okay. Thank you. How you doing?
Good, good, good. Good. Just had a really busy day. I mean, I was working for a lot of hours, but then came home or came back, worked a little bit more, and now it's my way of ending the day is with you guys. You know, talking, sharing, having a good conversation.
Great.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how was your day, Jose? Did you do anything interesting?
Well, yesterday happened something interesting. I had my first successful conversation in English by phone. It's amazing.
That's very
Yeah,
good. That's awesome. Congratulations.
yeah. Many months ago,
Uh-huh.
I had called the same company asking for a service, and I only could understand that they say no because blah blah blah. Didn't understand anything, and no again and no. I understood no, so I realized that the answer was no.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel more confidence, so I could call them again, and they say no again. But now I understood why was that no. So I think that's a proof that I improved.
That's great. Did you was it somebody in the United States? Was it somebody in South America who you talked to?
No, it's in United States,
United States, very nice.
asking them for service, but was not possible.
Oh, okay. But at least you had a good conversation. At least you were able to learn, and you saw your personal improvement from from a few months ago.
Yes, of course. It's amazing. This this stuff to learn English with native speakers is totally different.
Yeah,
It changes everything.
yeah. I think it's the best way. I mean, when you think about like when we were children, did anybody teach us our native language? No. We were just babies and we were just listening to our parents, listening to other people. And yeah, of course, gradually we learned the language, but actual native status was attained through a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation, a lot of, I mean, little kids, how did they learn languages? I think it's the same method, right? I think it's the same conversation, focus on conversation, focus on vocabulary, listening, speaking. Those are the best ways to gain that gain that confidence. It's really good. All right, guys. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can.
You guys, all right, sweet, sweet. We're gonna maybe wait just 1 or 2 more minutes. You guys feel free to talk about anything. We'll just give maybe 1 or 2 minutes to somebody else. Hopefully they come to class.
Mm, yes, as Jose said, um, studying with native English speakers at Colingo is the best way to learn English, I think, because once I was in an institute in my country, in my city, I finished the program, but at the end I still uh, couldn't talk in English. I mean, I could know the grammar, I could write and read, but speaking and listen was at another other level that I wasn't sure if I were able to get to get that level. So, but now with Duolingo, I am improving incredible faster, and that makes me happy.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's awesome. It gives you so much confidence. It gives you just the level of satisfaction that you are achieving something different, achieving something new, learning a new language, mastering a new language. It's very important. Uh, I know so many people that can write and read English like native speakers, but they can't understand or they can't speak like native speakers. And ultimately, speaking is, I think, super important. The most important maybe.
Yeah, it's mm, the mm, how can I say the top level.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys. So let us get started with class. Usually Emmy joins, but I think maybe she can't today. So today the topic that we're going to be talking about are prepositions, or the topic we're going to be talking about is prepositions. And prepositions, when we talk about prepositions, we usually use them. Hey, Emmy, how's it going? Uh,
Hello, good morning, good evening.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Wilson.
Great. So Emmy, thanks for joining. I just began this the lecture portion. Today we're talking about prepositions, right? So when we talk about prepositions in English, we are talking about words that explain how things relate to each other, right? And there are three ways they can relate to each other. They can relate to each other in place, in time, or in movement, right? So if we say, for example, in place, we can use on, right? The book is sitting on the table, right? If we talk about time, for example, um, uh, the book was sitting on the table before my sister took it, right? Before. Before is a preposition of time, right? The book was on the table before my sister took it. For movement, we can use uh, a preposition like to, you know. I ran back to my uh, I ran back to my house, right? I ran back to my house. So to is the preposition, in this case, for movement, right? So we had on for place, before for time, to for movement. We can also say after for time, you know. We can say from for movement, right? I came from, I ran from school, right? For place, we can say on, we can say in, right? The cat is inside uh, the whatever the tent. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up, right? The the child is hiding under his blanket, right? Under is another preposition. So place, time, and movement, right? Those are the three main categories. And when we use uh, when we use prepositions of place, right? Examples are on, in, at, right? I'm at the bus stop. I'm at home. I'm at school, right? He is in uh, he's in bed, right? She is on the phone. On the phone is a little bit different, but it's giving you the place of where these people are, right? So, uh, why don't you guys each give me an example of a sentence using a preposition of place? So the ones we looked at are on, in, at, right? Use these prepositions, one of these prepositions, and give me a sentence. So, Emmy, I'm at dreams doesn't work, right? Uh, how could you say what you're saying? Let's start with you. Not I'm at dreams, but I am.
Mm.
Emmy, can you hear me?
I am. Yes,
Yes, I can hear you.
I am.
Yeah.
We can hear you. Okay. I am at the bus. What is the bus? I don't know. Is it at or
You are at the bus or in the bus?
in the bus?
Well, what are you trying to say? Are you saying you're right? Yeah, or you can even say I'm on the bus. On the bus is actually the best,
Yes, on the bus.
right?
Yes, I'm on
So,
the
for
bus.
example, I'm on the bus, I'm on the plane, I'm on the train, right? When we
Mm.
talk about transportation, we use on, right? I'm on the bus, I'm on the plane, I'm on the train, I'm on the subway, I'm on the metro, right? So we use on for that
Mm.
example, right? Wilson, why don't you give me an example using any of these prepositions of place? So we looked at on, in, at, for example.
Mm, 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 1 hour ago, I was at my work, uh, leaving to come home.
1 hour ago, I was at work, leaving.
To come
I
home.
was I was leaving work to come home.
Okay. I was leaving work to come home.
So in this
Mm,
case, we actually don't use a preposition of place, right? Because if you say I was at work leaving to come home, it's a little different, right? Because really the focus of your sentence is you were leaving work to come home, right? So the preposition that we're using in this case is really the to for your movement, preposition of movement, right? So I was leaving work to come home, right? If you just want to mention something about place, then you could have just you could have said, for example, I 1 hour ago I was at work,
Hmm.
right? Because once you introduce the coming home part, the sentence's focus becomes more movement oriented, right? It becomes more focused on movement. And that's why the to becomes the necessary preposition. And the what we had before with the on, or I mean with the at, it doesn't actually, in English, it's not correct to say, I was at work leaving to come home. I was at work and planning on leaving to come home would work, right? I was at work 1 hour ago. I was at work planning on leaving to come home. So this sentence has three prepositions, right? It has
Hmm.
at, it has on, and it has to, right? So
Hmm.
it's a super sentence. But just for the purpose of what we were saying in terms of place, it's okay to say I was 1 hour ago. I was at work. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. We'll come back to you, Wilson, because I want you to practice a little bit more. Jose, give me another example of a preposition of place in a sentence, using a sentence.
Um, I'm in my house right now.
I'm in my house right now. That works, right? In English, we usually say I am at home right now.
Okay, I'm at home.
I'm at home right now, right? You can say I'm in my house, but you can it's more conversationally sound to say I'm at home right now. I'm at home
Okay,
right now.
I'm at home right now.
Yep, yep, fantastic. And Wilson, yeah, the sentence you wrote is exactly correct. So this is the sentence, that super sentence, with three prepositions. 1 hour ago, I was at work planning on leaving to go home, right? Or planning on leaving, planning on coming home also works. Planning on leaving to go home. That works. That works also. Both of those are correct. So, all right, guys. Any questions about
Mm,
prepositions of place? Yes, go ahead.
I have a question. Uh,
Yes.
in the verb planning, mm, why don't we use, for example, I was at work to plan on leaving to go home? Could we use in that way?
No, because I was at work to plan to go home, to plan to leaving to go home. What was the sentence you said, Wilson? One more time.
Yeah, I was trying to convert planning to the infinitive to plan.
Well, the infinitive wouldn't work here because 1 hour ago I was at work planning to go home. Because what you are saying is the infinitive needs to be in a sentence that you are saying, think about it in Spanish, right? Hace una hora estaba en trabajo planeando a regresar a la casa, right? Or something like that,
So,
right? So you would have to say planeando, right? It's the past, or it's the continuous tense, right? Because if you say like planear, that's the infinitive, right? It wouldn't make sense. Like hace una hora estaba en trabajo planear a regresar a la casa, right?
mm,
So it's similar in English. Honestly, Wilson, like sometimes when I don't understand something in English, I think about it in Spanish because they are so similar in terms of the actual grammatical structure, infinitive versus continuous versus how we make the sentence, right? So let's think about it in that sense, if that helps, right? 1 hour ago, I was at work, so that's a perfectly fine sentence. 1 hour ago, I was at work, right? If you stop there, it's perfect. But I was at work to plan to. Were you at work to plan to come home? I mean, that part is a little wrong, right? You were at work working, right? You were not. at work to plan to come home. You were at work, but because you were in another location, you're using this continuous tense to say planning to come home, planning on leaving to go home, right? I know it's not the best explanation, Wilson, but
It is. It is. I like the explanation.
you like it? So, I mean,
Yeah.
the infinitive, we have to be very careful when we use infinitive because, for example, I like to go home. The infinitive standalone usually works well when it's alone in the verb, right? It works really well when it's alone in the verb, when it's if it's the only verb in a sentence. When it's combined with other verbs, there are specific cases, right? Like I have to go home. That's an infinitive, right? Yo tengo que regresar a la casa, right? I have to go home. In that case, you can use to go, right, which is the infinitive form. But and also it's the only verb in that sentence. In other contexts, when you have more than one verb, we have to before we think of the infinitive, we need to check and see if it makes sense. In this particular example, it doesn't make sense to say 1 hour ago I was at work to plan on leaving to come home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense, Wilson. But these examples, honestly, the more we run across these examples, the better. So this one super sentence, if you can understand the reasoning behind this super sentence, the study of prepositions will get much easier, right? Because we have three prepositions in a sentence, right? We're combining preposition of place, I was at work, with a preposition of uh, time, kind of, right? Planning on leaving, right? And we have a preposition of movement, to go home, right? So it really combines all three of those types in one sentence. And it's a little bit more of a complicated example because of that as well. But if you can understand it, then bravo. That's really good. Um, good question too, man. Any other questions, guys, about prepositions of movement so far? Are you okay, Emmy and Jose?
I think it's okay so far.
Okay, Jose is good. Emmy, are you okay with this lesson so far? Yeah, I think Emmy's
Yes,
asleep,
okay.
honestly. Okay, good. Good. All right. All right, guys. So the second preposition I wanted to talk about, and we'll go through this a little bit quickly, was when we are talking about positioning, right? So we already mentioned that the book is on the table, right? The paintings are on the wall, right? So we use on a lot in English to describe the positions of things. For example, on the wall, on the table, on the chair, on the bed, right? On the floor, right? We use on a lot in English. So we can also use on, just like we were saying a little while ago, we can also use on for modes of transportation, right? So I saw her on her bike. I saw him on a horse. I saw him on a motorcycle, right? Have you ever ridden on a camel, right? Have you ever ridden on a horse, right? So these are questions we can ask each other, right? So if you're from my part of the world, Indians, have you ever ridden on an elephant, right? It's common. Indian people, we have elephants, right? So have you ever ridden on an elephant, right? So we use on for the location preposition, right? And modes of transportation. However, so same thing, right? On a plane, on a train, on a boat, on a ship, right? However, when we say car, we don't say on a car. We say we are in a car. So car is really the only exception. But most people say I'm in a car or I'm driving, right? Or whatever if you're a passenger, right? So car is really the only exception. But otherwise we use on for modes of transportation as well, right? So why don't you guys give me a quick example, each of you guys, using on in a sentence, a quick prepositional phrase, a sentence with a preposition using on. Let's start this time with Jose.
Okay, I'm I'm going to my office on a bus.
I'm going to my office, or I'm going to work
I'm going to
on
work.
on a bus, right? Fantastic, right? Or I am on the bus to work.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
on
on
the
a
bus to go to work. I'm on the bus to go to work. That's actually the best way to think about it. I'm on the bus to go to work, right? So yeah, that's really well done. I'm on the metro to go to work. I'm on the bus to go to school, right? All really good examples. All very good examples. Uh, Wilson, give me another quick example using on in a sentence.
Okay. Mm, mm, mm. Yesterday, I was on the conference room at my work uh, in order to give a presentation
Yesterday, I was on the conference room in my work to
at
give
my
a
work.
presentation. At my work to give a presentation. Everything is perfect except for the first preposition, Wilson. How can you be on a conference line? Or how can you be
Conference.
on a conference? Uh-huh. So
Uh,
did you mean that you were in the conference, like you were giving the conference, you were giving the presentation in the conference?
well, actually, I was on the conference room in the room. That's why I use on. Mm,
Mm-hmm.
but it's in this case, I am referring to a place.
Mm-hmm. So which one would it be better in this case, Wilson? At work was perfect, right? At work was perfect. What about this first one? How would you describe your location relative to the room?
Mm, mm.
We wouldn't use on in this example, right? So what other preposition would we use?
Perhaps we could use in the conference room.
In the conference room. Yeah, yeah. That's the correct preposition. Yesterday I was in the conference room
At
at work,
yeah.
uh-huh, giving my presentation or to in order to give my presentation, right?
Mm,
So on really think about on as being I know it's in Spanish it's difficult because you guys use en for both, right? Estaba en la clase, estaba en el dormitorio, estaba en el whatever, en auditorio, right? But in English it's different because we have the on and the in, and it's I can understand how that's difficult because think of on as being physically up on something like the book is on the desk, right? And think of it also as a transportation. For everything else, use in, right? Um, like if you're talking about physical location, like you are in a building, right? You are in a building, you are in a room, you are in the forest, right? You are in the desert, you are in some location, right? On, think about it more as being physically on something, right? The book is on the table, and also for transportation, right? I'm on the bus. I'm in the car, but I'm on the bus. I'm on the train. I'm on the plane, right? Those kinds of things. So it's a little bit difficult because I know with Spanish we only use one word. Um, but in any case, good job though. Good job on that, Wilson. Emmy, give me one other example using on as your preposition.
Okay. Uh, she's on the plane right now. She's on the plane right now.
He's on the plane right now. Fantastic, right? He's on the plane right now. Somebody is traveling somewhere. Where is he? He's on the plane right now. Fantastic. Okay, and now we are going to cover the last two prepositions pretty quickly. I think we covered these in the other parts of the lesson also. But so we're talking about in. So this is a good review for you now, Wilson. When we say in, right? We use in to describe the position of people or items or things that in an enclosed place, right? Like a house, like the keys are in the house, right? The dog is in the house. Um, the 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 computer is inside the computer room, or the computers are in the computer room. The books are in the library, right? So think about a location that is defined by boundaries, right? A house has boundaries, right? So you can say it's in the house, it's in the car, it's in the building, it's in the forest, right? All those kinds of things. It's in the water. Fish live in the water, right? But the difference is when you're talking about some locations, if you're talking about a specific location, a specific point, then you want to use at, right? So, for example, let's meet at school tomorrow. Let's meet at school tomorrow. I am at home, right? There is somebody at the door, right? It's a very specific location. You're saying, you know, the door, somebody's at the door, somebody is at home, right? It takes practice, I know, because honestly, if I was listening to myself right now, I would not understand the difference between at and in for something like home. Because we say something is in the house, but I am at home, right? And both of them, we're talking about the house or the home, right? So English is weird. English honestly is very weird for things like that. If it's a boundaries, if it's
Yes.
specific boundaries, think of in, and if it's a specific, or I mean, if it's boundaries, a location that is defined by boundaries, think of in, and if it's a specific location, then think of at. Okay, and I'm going to test you guys now, real quick. I'm going to give you guys a little quiz, right? So Wilson, what would I say if I wanted to know, for example, um, if I wanted to say, are you blank Bolivia right now? Would we use in or would we use at? Are you blank Bolivia right now?
Mm, mm. In this case, mm, could be in because Bolivia has boundaries.
Yes, yes, fantastic, right? Are you in Bolivia right now? Fantastic, right? What about Emmy? What about this? Let's say Jose is blank the top of the mountain. Jose is blank the top of the mountain. Would we use at or would we use in?
At
Yeah,
at the
and
top of the mountain.
why is it at, do you think?
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. It's also it's specific place, right? But
It's a
I
specific.
think I all the time hear it at the top of the mountain. At the top.
Absolutely, absolutely. See, this is what I'm saying. The more you guys hear these things, the easier it
Mm.
will get. You'll just know. You say at the top of the mountain, at the bottom of the ocean, right?
Mm.
What about Jose? What about this? The astronauts are blank space right now.
Um, the astronauts are in the space.
Yeah. The astronauts are, we don't actually say the space, right? We say just space because it's a very open, large area. We don't need to use articles, right? So the astronauts are in space right now. Fantastic, right? Space is, even though space is not really defined by boundaries, right? It's a natural medium, right? So you can think about it like water or, you know, oceans, right? The fish live in the oceans. The stars are in space. The planets are in space, right? The clouds are in the air, right? So not only boundaries, but if it's a natural medium, Those are also used in for those types of words, right? So you guys did well. All three of you guys got those questions right. Do we have any questions, any additional questions about the prepositions of place, prepositions of movement, and prepositions of time? For place, we saw words like on, in, at. For prepositions of time, we saw like before, after. And for movement, we saw to and from. Those are all prepositions. Any questions on those, guys?
No.
I
Okay.
think they just want more practice on that.
Yeah.
Because when the first time I take that class, I was
Mhm.
so confusing about the in and at. And for several classes now, I think, yes, I will understand it more and more.
Yeah, you're getting the hang of it, right? You're getting the hang of it. It's
Mm.
it's something that is really prepositions. I have noticed with people, a lot of my friends that are learning English or still learning English, people I know personally, not people from like other places or something like that. These guys really prepositions are one of the hardest things to understand from the native in that native speaker sense, right? Because you can understand the difference between in, at, on, whatever, right? But it's still very easy to say, for example, I am in my house instead of saying I'm at home, right? I am in my house, yeah, it's perfectly fine, but it doesn't sound as natural as something like I'm at home, right? Or some of the sentences we looked at earlier today, like I'm in work, I'm at, or I'm on the conference room, right? Little things like that. You can be a very good English student, but still make those mistakes. And it comes with practice. Just literally practicing, hearing people talk will really change how this. It'll make this process a lot easier for you guys, right? So anyway, guys, let us jump to the article real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on the article because we don't have that much time, but let us quickly jump to this article and we will take a quick look. So today's article is talking about plants that can be used to regrow a forest, right? One of the biggest problems we have in the natural world today is that plants are we are facing a deforestation, right? Many rainforests, many precious areas of diversity and uh, a lot of just amazing natural resources are being lost when we are losing our forests. And these plants are helping to regrow the forest. So let me very quickly switch to screen share so you guys can see my screen. And let us read about these amazing group of plants, okay? How one group of plants help regrow an entire forest. A team of researchers report in Nature that legumes grow faster than other trees in the earliest phase of a forest's regrowth, pumping into the soil enough nitrogen to support the rest of the forest's burgeoning plants. Okay, well, this is in Panama, right? Just a photo of Panama. Okay. Legumes rise to meet the challenge of deforestation, scientists have found. A team of researchers report in Nature, this is a magazine, that legumes, which fix atmospheric nitrogen into a usable form for other plants, grow faster than other trees in the earliest phase of a forest's regrowth. What are legumes? Okay, legumes are like peas, um, beans, right? They're a specific kind of plant that help. Um, they are part of the nitrogen cycle. So, they take the nitrogen from plants and from the soil, and they help to introduce that nitrogen back into the environment, right? Back into the air. This defined highlights the pivotal role that just one group of plants, in collaboration with some useful bacteria, plays in growing up an entire forest that, as a carbon dioxide absorber, ultimately becomes the entire planet's ally against global warming. Right? This is a very powerful sentence. These legumes, right? because they work with bacteria, with useful bacteria, and because they absorb carbon dioxide, right? They are one of the planet's strongest allies against global warming, right? This is a group of species that are helpers to the rest of the forest, says Lars Hedin, a professor at Princeton University and a co-author on the paper. It's super cool, he adds. For decades, the America's forests, once unfurling like rumpled blankets across the continent, have been cut into to make room for booming cities and sprawling commercial farms and ranches. Those cuts, scientists note, have brought about the extinction of an unknown amount of species, as well as troubling losses in the ranks of an efficient carbon dioxide reducer, the tree, right? So what's this saying, right? Because all these forests have been destroyed, we have less trees now to control the level of carbon dioxide. And when the level of carbon dioxide increases in the atmosphere, that is what gives us global warming, right? So let's skip all this stuff. No one cares. I kind of explained it. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Uh, these are really smart trees, he adds. The 9 different species of legumes studied also began and stopped fixing nitrogen at staggered times, as if choreographed to keep the forest nitrogen-fed, the scientists found, noting that the research once again underscores the importance of biodiversity in the health of tropical forests, right? So I'll just talk about this a little bit. So they're saying that if you plant legumes, right? So for example, some farmers plant legumes, peas and beans and other kinds of crops in their farms, and they cycle these plants. Maybe one year they plant peas, the next year they plant something else, right? Because this cycling of plants helps to fix the nitrogen at staggered times, not all at once, right? It fixes the nitrogen at different times and it helps the soil actually. And this is why it's so important to have biodiversity in tropical forests. If you want to help tropical forests, you don't want to just plant the same plant every year or plant the same kind of plant in one area. You should have biodiversity and plant more than one type of plant, right? So this is the end of the article. I mean, it's I know it's a lot more sciencey, it's a lot more scientific than maybe we are used to, but I really like these kinds of articles because they give us a lot of insight into what we can do, right? Nature is replenishing itself. Nature can regrow itself, right? Using its own capabilities, using its own scientific um, process, right? So, Wilson, I have a question for you. We talk about deforestation a lot in when we talk about the environment, right? Has deforestation affected your country? Has it affected Bolivia? Has the effect been negative, positive? What do you know about that?
Mm, has it does yeah, it has. Indeed, I think that this problem affects uh, all over the world. Could be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, yeah, it's very important to realize that without forestation, we will contribute to the global warming issue. So instead of mm,
Mm-hmm.
killing trees, we should be careful, and if we kill one tree, we should plant another trees, at least 5 or 10, maybe, I don't know, because it takes time to
Mm-hmm.
to grow this tree, and then become to help with the global warming issue.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely right. So definitely we can agree that uh, many countries, including Bolivia, have seen the effects of deforestation, right? And it's sad because, like you're saying, now we have to have a day to celebrate trees. You know, April 20 is Arbor Day. At least in the United States, we call it Arbor Day. It's a day that people go and they plant trees, right? So it's something that really the world is aware of, and we are making changes, right? So Jose, I have another question for you now. Is it better? Do you think this entire article is talking about nature uh, cleaning itself, right? It's not saying humans should go and technologically introduce different things, right? It's saying just by planting a specific type of plant, the legume, we can uh, regrow the rainforest, right? Do you believe, Jose, that it's better for nature to regrow itself without human contact?
Yeah, of course, the nature have the capability to regrow, but I think that there are no many places in the earth that it's free of the impact of the human activity.
Hmm.
So as we're changing the world, we should have to help the nature as well to regrow. Of course, the nature can do it by itself, but um I think that the nature won't be able to do it faster as we destroy it. So we should help nature.
Hmm. Absolutely. And what's one interesting way besides maybe planting trees? What's another way that you can think, Jose, of us helping nature?
Well, maybe try to find some ways to save energy and something that everybody can do.
Hmm.
When we talk about saving energy, some people think about huge buildings of very costly infrastructure,
Hmm.
and there are many things that we can do by ourselves. Tiny things that gathering all these tiny things, we have a very high impact. Something like maybe to recycle the bottles when you drink a soda.
Hmm.
These bottles are made on petroleum, and that's
Made
kind of
made from petroleum, Jose.
made from.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe when you iron your clothes.
Hmm.
For example, I never iron my underwear because what's the meaning of that? And I help them to
Hmm.
self ener to save energy.
Yes. Let's everybody. We should avoid ironing our underwear. It saves energy.
Yeah, yeah,
I
of
like I
course.
like that idea. I actually like that idea.
Yeah,
Um,
what's the point of that?
no one's gonna check. Yeah, no one cares if underwear is ironed or not. Absolutely, that's a good point, right? And Wilson, what is your take on spinach? You want to eat spinach? How is that gonna help the environment?
I want to become a Superman, like
Really?
something like that,
Uh
like
huh.
Popeye.
Popeye. Yeah, you want to get big muscles like Popeye, right? Popeye
Yeah,
is
big muscles.
that's Popeye is the last person like in American culture who actually promoted eating vegetables. I think. You know. You're saying something else, Wilson. Go ahead.
No, no, I was laughing.
Yeah. No, Popeye, honestly, I mean, every other superhero, no one, they never made such a big focus on vegetables. Popeye was the last person. And even now today, parents, like my mom also told me when I was a child, I used to watch Popeye. And when she gave me like vegetables for dinner or something, I didn't eat them. So she used to tell me, "Don't you want to grow up to be strong like Popeye?" And then that's when I ate the vegetables because Popeye was a big deal for me. I used to like Popeye a lot. So absolutely. So Emmy, quick question for you. Do you think, Emmy, when forests regrow, right? So we're talking about all of these forests that we are losing. when forests regrow, how does that maybe help the people who live nearby? Does it help the people who live nearby, or does it hurt the people who live nearby these forests that are regrowing?
I think it will help all the people that lives nearby, because they will uh, if they have farms, their animals will be more healthy, and they can uh, they will grow their farms also, and maybe sells that uh, vegetables if it's grow in their farms, and yes, and the animal also will be healthier, and yes, and the weather for them also, it will be uh, less more oxygen, and uh, yes, healthy also.
Hmm. Absolutely right. And one
Mm.
of the other things that this article talks about, which if you guys are interested, right, just learn about nitrogen fixation, right? Let me just write this down. Nitrogen, nitrogen fixation. This is the process that this article is talking about. These legumes, right? So these legumes, they fix nitrogen, right? They can
Mm.
they take ammonia, NH3 something, some chemical compound, and they release it into the soil also, right? So for the
Mm.
farmers, I mean, like you're saying, right? What happens if the soil is more rich? How does that help maybe the farmers that live near the forest?
Mm. Yeah, uh, I don't
Like
know.
you have really high quality soil. Wilson, how does that help a farmer if you have really high quality soil?
Mm, I'm not sure about the process of in that field.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, you can just take a guess, right? If you wanna grow a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits, a lot of
Maybe
really
they will
delicious things.
take that
Uh-huh.
sand from the forest, and use it in their farms
Yeah.
to build or uh, to grow another kinds of plants for them.
Hmm. Absolutely, right? Absolutely. Because it's all about that cycling, right? So nature will cycle itself, right? Nature will be able to fix itself. But like we heard from Jose, right? It's much difficult. It's much more difficult for nature to do that because the humans are so we're destroying it so quickly that nature can't keep up, right? Nature is having a difficult time. It takes years, right? Like Wilson, I think you said if you kill a tree, then plant 5 or 10 in its place, right? Because it takes so long for that for those trees to grow up and actually contribute to the global warming or contribute to stopping global warming or things like that. So yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, when do we what would we do in a world without trees, in a world without forests? I mean, how would that affect your life? Jose, like how would that affect your life if there are not many trees around us?
Well, it's very difficult when you live in a city uh, with a very low number of parks, of public
Mhm.
parks, and you have not many places where to have how to say, like, more clean place.
Mhm.
And well, in this article, this mentioned that these plants can absorb uh, dioxide carbon and
Yeah, carbon dioxide.
carbon dioxide, and many
Uh-huh.
people are confused about this because the people think that planting trees or having plants in their houses, they will fight with carbon monoxide, what
Mm-hmm.
is produced by cars. The cars produce carbon monoxide, not dioxide, and this monoxide is a poison for the plants, as same
Yep.
as for us.
Absolutely.
So to fight against this poison, well, just to have a better cars or trying to fix the cars. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's so we won't fight with this problem planting trees. The trees, of course, are important, but has another uses. For example, in farming, not exactly the trees, but some vegetables that you can plant in a cycle to have more nitrogen in your soil so that you can save the money that you would be using by buying fertilizers, so you can
Absolutely.
save that money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are many things that we can speak about this.
Yeah, right. It's really interesting. I mean, and more, we are seeing third world areas, like people in my country, like people in like Bangladesh, like farmers who don't know how to read or write, right? Even they, from their grandparents, from their great grandparents, know that if you want to have a healthy farm, you change you have to cycle your crops, right? You don't always plant the same plant in the same field every year, right? You have to cycle. One year you plant rice, the next year you plant something else, right? Or maybe rice is a bad example, but you plant different plants, right? Because you need to cycle that soil. That soil will naturally become more healthy if you cycle, because the nutrients, the nitrogen, everything is going to be better, right? So yeah, did you say, Jose, are you an agricultural engineer?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, right. So I think this is your field. I mean, a lot of this stuff is very agriculturally, you know, important for agriculture, I should say. Do you think people are doing this, Jose, like in Peru, in South America? I mean, like in your own work, have you seen this happen?
To
Deforestation, reforestation. Yeah.
deforestation, yes, of course, and sadly we have a phenomenon, informal mining. There are some places in the deep forest. There are places that you can find people there, invaders maybe, or
Mm-hmm.
people that come like ants, come by thousands for every places, and because this territory is rich in gold, and they cut the trees they produce. They are devastating the forest in a way that it cannot be regrown. It is
Mm-hmm.
totally lost forever,
Wow. Wow.
and you cannot fight against these people because it's a social problem. There are not enough jails to put thousand and thousand people.
Wow.
Yes, and another problems that it has, for example, corruption, prostitution. They're killing people as well. They kill each other, and well, so it's a great problem here, the informal mining.
Hmm. See you later, Emmy. Thanks for joining class.
Can you repeat, please?
Oh, no, I was talking to Emmy. I said, see you later, Emmy. I'm going to, we can see her next time
Bye.
tomorrow. Yeah, take care.
Bye.
But yeah, Jose, fantastic. I really like that, right? I mean, I think you are touching on exactly the same reasons. I mean, so many people. Have you guys heard of eco-terrorism? Like in English, we say eco-terrorism because it's somebody who does terrorism in against the environment, right? So in the United States, for example, there are some crazy people who every year they start forest fires. Okay, so maybe one guy, he goes into the middle of the forest and he does something, and he starts a massive fire. Like these fires cover entire states, right? and so many acres of forest get destroyed. And these people are doing this because I don't know, they have they have some reason that they want to destroy the environment, and we have lost hundreds of thousands of acres of forest just because of these kinds of criminal activities, right? And these forests will never be regrown. Many of them are just the land is finished. You know, all the trees are dead. Maybe it'll take another generation, 2 or 3 generations, for the forest to grow back. You know, it's very sad. Wilson, do you have any questions or any comments about what we've been talking about? Anything you'd like to say? We heard a lot from Jose, so maybe if you have questions for Jose or for me or anybody.
Uh, mm, well, mm, once I was in something like in the jungle,
Uh huh.
uh, and then of course there was no pollution there, um, and and I think there's a huge difference when you are in the how can I say in the middle of the city.
Yeah, in the middle of the city. Fantastic. In the middle of the city.
Yeah, in
Downtown.
the
In
middle,
downtown.
right, in the downtown.
Downtown Cochabamba.
That's right. So if you are, for example, in the country, you will notice that difference, especially in the air. It's more pure for me. It's more, I don't know. I feel like I am breathing very clear air. Uh, yeah,
Very clean air, Wilson. Clean air is perfect.
yeah, that's right. Very
Uh
clean air.
huh.
So. I think it's very important to have forestation in all the places.
Hmm. Absolutely, I completely agree. I mean, you can tell the difference, right? When you go to the countryside, even the weather, because you have a nice, I've noticed, for example, there's just more nicer breezes, more nice, like wind. The wind feels nicer, right? Because it's not the hot air in like the downtown part of the city where, buildings and heating and ventilation and air conditioning, all of those factors contribute to warming. Like whenever you look at a map, like if you're listening to maybe like a weather report, downtown is always a little bit warmer, a few degrees warmer than the countryside, maybe just a few miles away, because you have more open space, you have better ventilation, better airflow, right, from maybe the mountains into the valleys, right, all over. It's much more pleasant to be in a place that has nice, clean air, like you said, trees, open spaces. I mean, I think the difference is really astounding, right? So, Wilson, I mean, when it gets really hot and not hot, but maybe, but when it gets so congested in downtown Cochabamba, do you guys visit outside? Are there cities nearby, or do you guys go into the countryside for parks or hiking or just to enjoy the scenery?
Actually, here in my city, it's very common to in weekends to go to the countryside because of what you said. The well, in the downtown, it's very polluted, the air. Um, and so, and there are many places where you can go in the countryside. You know, for example, you can visit some sightseeings. You can go to some places where there are a lot of people that are selling food in the street. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the people that live in the countryside goes out from their houses, from their homes, and starts selling food from those places, and it's and the food is very fresh. The um, it's very tasty. So yeah, there are many places like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's awesome. And I think the same thing for you, right, Jose? I mean, if it gets to be very congested and you just feel stuck in Lima, then you guys maybe go to the beach, the countryside, right?
Yes, to be on the countryside has a more peaceful life. It's or it's easier the life, more quiet, and of course you can forget your many troubles that you have in the city.
Yeah.
And yes, but there are some myths again. For example, the food is not as healthy as we might think because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't have the conditions, good conditions. For example, there are no water all the time, or the water is not able to be consumed by the people.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes some stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in the countryside, you can buy honeybee from the people that produce that are dedicated to this activity.
Mm-hmm.
But well, it's a little bit cheaper. But in the bottle that they sell you, you will find some parts of the bee.
Really?
Uh, yes, of course, because they don't have the some equipment to clean the bee. It's not as difficult. It's not a chemical
Mm-hmm.
process. It's just let me see. It's just to be
Yeah,
centrifugated.
centrifugated.
It's called centrifugate.
Centrifuge. Using a centrifuge. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, but they don't have that equipment, so they're trying to clean it by their own with some little spoons or with their own hands, maybe. Yeah, so there's something that you can that you have to deal with,
Yeah.
but of course it's a very enjoyable experience to be in the
Yeah.
countryside.
Especially if you're going just for a weekend, just for a few days, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, not to stay
not to
to
live.
remain for the life. No, no way.
Exactly. Exactly, right? Exactly. Anyway, guys, so yeah, we're pretty much near the end of class, but I mean, we talked a lot about a lot of cool things. Thank you guys for contributing to the discussion as well. Did you guys have any other questions about prepositions, about what we talked about with the with the forestation, deforestation? Anything that you guys found interesting or weird or anything?
No, it's clear.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, with the main thing with prepositions, guys, really is my parents even sometimes have problems with preposition, and they've lived here many years and they learned English just like you guys. It's really just about practicing, practicing, practicing when it comes to prepositions. Um, and yeah, I mean, the more you hear phrases, interesting phrases like he's on the bus, he's on his way to work, he's at work, we are at home, whatever. The more you guys hear these phrases, the more easier it's going to be to naturally understand prepositions. So um, that's all I have, guys. Oh, it looks like just Jose now. Uh,
Okay,
yeah. Have a great rest of the night, Jose. I have another class same time tomorrow night, so I hope to see you then if you can make it.
okay.
Yeah.
Let's see us again tomorrow. Bye bye.
Alrighty.
Thank you
Take
for the
care, Jose.
class.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.
Faster, and that makes me happy.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it's awesome. It gives you so much confidence. It gives you just the level of satisfaction that you are achieving something different, achieving something new, learning a new language, mastering a new language, was very important. I know so many people that can write and read English like native speakers, but they can't understand or they can't speak like native speakers. And ultimately, speaking is, I think, super important. The most important, maybe.
Yeah, it's mm, the mm, how can I say, the top level.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys. So let us get started with class. Usually Emmy joins, but I think maybe she can't today. So today the topic that we're going to be talking about are prepositions, or the topic we're going to be talking about is prepositions. And prepositions, when we talk about prepositions, we usually use them. Hey, Emmy, how's it going? Uh,
Hello, good morning, good evening.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Wilson.
great. So Emmy, thanks for joining. I just got beginning. I just began the lecture portion. Today we're talking about prepositions, right? So when we talk about prepositions in English, we are talking about words that explain how things relate to each other, right? And there are three ways they can relate to each other. They can relate to each other in place, in time, or in movement, right? So if we say, for example, in place, we can use on, right? The book is sitting on having a good conversation.
Great.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how was your day, Jose? Did you do anything interesting?
Well, yesterday happened something interesting. I had my first successful conversation in English by phone. Well, it's amazing.
That's very
Yeah,
good. That's awesome. Congratulations.
yeah. Many months ago,
Uh-huh.
I had called the same company asking for a service, and I only could understand that they say no because blah blah blah. Didn't understand anything, and no again, and no. I understood no, so I realized that the answer was no,
Mm-hmm.
and now I feel more confidence, so I could call them again, and they say no again, but now I understood why was that no. So I think that's a proof that I'm improving.
That's great. Did you was it somebody in the United States? Was it somebody in South America who you talked to?
No, it's in United States
United States, very nice.
asking them for service, but was not possible.
Oh, okay. But at least you had a good conversation. At least you were able to learn, and you saw your personal improvement from a few months ago.
Yes, of course. It's amazing. This this stuff to learn English with native speakers is totally different.
Yeah,
It changes everything.
yeah. I think it's the best way. I mean, when you think about like when we were children, did anybody teach us our native language? No. We were just babies, and we were just listening to our parents, listening to other people. And yeah, of course, gradually we learned the language, but actual native status was attained through a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation, a lot of, I mean, little kids, how did they learn languages? I think it's the same method, right? I think it's the same conversation, focus on conversation, focus on, vocabulary, listening, speaking. Those are the best ways to gain that gain that confidence. You know, it's really good. All right, guys. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can.
You guys, all right, sweet, sweet. We're gonna maybe wait just 1 or 2 more minutes. You guys feel free to talk about anything. We'll just give maybe 1 or 2 minutes to somebody else. Hopefully they come to class.
Mm, yes, as Jose said, um, studying with native English speakers at Colingo is the best way to learn English, I think, because once I was in an institute in my country, in my city, I finished the program, but at the end I still couldn't talk in English. I mean, I could know the grammar, I could write and read, but speak and listen was at another other level that I wasn't sure if I were able to get to get that level. So, but now with Colingo, I am improving incredible fast. Hi, Farhan, how are you?
Good, good. Is how's everything down in Bolivia?
Mm, everything is okay so far.
Nice, nice, nice.
How
How's
was your day, Farhan?
your day? My day was good. How was yours?
Sorry?
I said, how was your
Ah,
day?
okay.
Uh-huh.
Um, it was great. Yeah, I learned some new things, so I'm happy about that.
Good, good, good. It's always good to practice and learn. Did you continue to work on your application, on the website application today? Or actually, I think you said you were going to work on that on Saturday with your friend, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Did you hear me?
Farhan, I cannot hear you well. Hi there.
Hello, Wilson. How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you. How about you?
Fine, thank you. Hi, Farhan. Cannot hear you, Farhan.
Yeah, we cannot hear you yet.
What about right now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay.
Okay. I think you guys should be able to hear me now, hopefully, right?
Yeah, yeah. I can hear you well.
Okay. All right, fantastic, fantastic. Let me know if the connection gets bad again. I really apologize. My tonight is the last night in for another month that I'll be traveling. So starting from tomorrow night, I'll be back home. Uh, you know, normal computer, normal internet, no problems. So yeah.
That's good.
Jose, how's it going?
Everything's okay. Thank you. How you doing?
Good, good, good. Good. Just had a really busy day. I mean, I was working for a lot of hours, but then came home came back, worked a little bit more, and now it's my way of ending the day is with you guys. You know, talking, sharing,